Oh, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday to you. It is Sunday morning, and I just want to start by saying I woke up 30 minutes ago. It's a fact. Like all my kids are gone today, and we went to my husband's company Christmas party last night. And I mean, we don't drink or anything, but anyway, yeah, I woke up 30 minutes ago. Woohoo! So here we go. Let's talk about sex addiction and betrayal trauma. So, I've gotten a lot of questions in the last couple of weeks about what is sex addiction, and that's why we talked about it last Sunday and tried to break it down for you a little bit. And then today, I also want to talk a little bit more about the nuances of like what is betrayal trauma, because that's sort of the word that you hear now in the sex addiction community. Betrayed spouses. It seems to be this common terminology that's being used to describe a whole lot of different circumstances. So I want to talk a little bit about what fits into that label. And then a little bit of like sex addiction versus betrayal versus infidelity. So it's a lot. I'm going to try not to overwhelm you this morning. So we talked last week about what sex addiction is. So I'm going to blow it up a little bit, zoom out to a higher level and talk a little bit about betrayal trauma. So on my website, Jenny Rochelle, a few weeks ago, I wrote a post on what is betrayal trauma. So definitely check that out if you want to dig into it a little bit more. But basically, betrayal trauma is a term that was developed, I think, in the 80s or so by a woman named Jennifer Freyd, Freyd. And she really wasn't necessarily talking about romantic betrayal or sexual betrayal or infidelity when she was writing about betrayal trauma. She was mainly studying children who were abused. And basically, she defines betrayal trauma as anytime anything that we rely on for safety and security. So it could be a person or it could be an institution. So specifically in her case, if you think about children that are relying on their parents for safety and security, and they turn around and those are the ones that violate them physically, sexually, emotionally, whatever, what a betrayal that is. And so what we see now is that term is now being used to talk about what we normally think of as betrayal, which is infidelity and sexual betrayal in a monogamous and romantic, intimate relationship. And what we're seeing now is that those women, like who experience that. So if you're watching this show, I'm assuming that you probably have, or you have questions, or you're wondering. So if you have experienced betrayal, you have definitely also are experiencing trauma, as a result of that. And there are lots of different ways that can manifest in your body, in your heart, in your nervous system. I've done a lot of writing about that. That's one of my things that I really love to talk about is the effects, the physical effects on your nervous system of trauma. So sleeplessness, weight loss, weight gain. There's something you experience that we call trauma brain, in which you just can't concentrate the way that you used to. It's kind of like baby brain or pregnancy brain, but it's kind of like even worse than that. It's like you're just, you can't put your finger on it, but you're not quite right. You can't remember things. You're not as sharp as you used to be. And then also you experience hypervigilance. You might get startled a whole lot more easily than you used to. Disassociation, that's a sensation where you sort of feel like you're leaving your body. And the thing is, for a long time, partners of sex addicts, so women who definitely sort of fall into that bucket. So if you're a partner of a sex addict, and your husband or your spouse is a sex addict, you have for sure experienced betrayal trauma. You've experienced a number of other types of trauma as well. We'll talk about it at a later date. But the thing is, what can be tricky is when you're trying to sort through, is it betrayal and infidelity? Is he sleeping with one other person? Or is it sex addiction? Has he slept with a number of other people? And the thing is, like, even in my case, what was super tricky was my ex, who's a recovering sex addict. He didn't sleep with other women. And so it took me a long time to sort of see it as a betrayal, because it didn't sort of fit into what we think of as that bucket, right, of actual infidelity or betrayal of sleeping with another person. So, it can be hard to sort of wrap your brain around all of that. And you pile onto that, like this inability to want to believe that it's happening to you. And so we want to push it all away, and because it doesn't make sense that someone that we love could hurt us that badly. And so all this sort of contribute to the reason why we can have trouble figuring out what we want to do. So you experience some trauma, you're confused, you're not sleeping, you're not eating. And so all this sets you up to be in this sort of overwhelmed state where, honestly, you need a lot of support right now. You need a lot of support from therapist, from coach. That's certainly what I have set up my business to do. It's my mission. I said business, it's my mission. It's my vocation. Like, this is my work in the world, is to advocate for partners of sex addicts, women who have experienced betrayal trauma. And so if you're on the fence about whether or not your husband's a sex addict, but there's something going on, feel free to reach out to me. And we can talk about it. I've said last week, I can't diagnose, but it doesn't really matter, because if you have been betrayed, you are experiencing a trauma, and I'd love to be able to support you with that. So I think we're going to wrap up for today. It was a lot of information. I feel like we're sort of doing sex addiction and betrayal trauma 101 these next few weeks, but I want to break it all down for you and talk about sort of what I do. And so just to be clear, like, I support partners of sex addicts, and I say sex addiction a lot because it's important to me to get that word out and sort of start to remove some of the shame about it. But also intermingled with that are women who have, just experienced betrayal. And like, there's no just to it. That's another thing I think we want to tend to do, is like, oh, your suffering is so much worse than mine. And like, no, everyone suffers the same. Like, the pain that we feel is the same. So, main takeaway from today is, like, if you have experienced betrayal, you have experienced a trauma. And I would love to talk to you about that. So any questions? If you're watching the live show, be sure and say hi. If you're watching this on a repeat, say hi and say repeat. And if you have questions afterwards, feel free to put them in the comment box, or probably you don't want to say them in a comment box. So reach out to me directly through direct message or through my webpage, my Facebook page. You can find my website. Also, the Surviving His Sex Addiction and Betrayal guidebook is up and live. It is this thing that's a labor of love for me. It is my free gift for you. It's 30 pages, 30. Oh my God, what a Freudian slip. 30 pages of full color of questions and lots of information for you. It's the thing that I wish that I had when I first discovered my husband's a sex addict. I was trying to figure out, what the heck am I going to do now? Okay, I'm going to stop talking now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I love to hear from you. Have a great Sunday.